So, if you guys could describe the group violin class in one sentence, what would it be?
I kind of think that in a group class, what you get that you don't get one on one is you get to hear other people play with you. And it's kind of different because when you play, you get to check your intonation with your other violin players in the class.
How do you feel like it's translated into online learning?
It felt like a seamless transition. And it really motivated me to practice more to keep up with everyone. And sometimes I'm hearing myself and I'm like, but for some reason, as a group, even if we individually think we don't sound as great together, we always sound really awesome.
Ironically, when you're having these group classes online, you're forced to listen to yourself a lot more because of that. Yeah, at least when I'm practicing by myself, I'm just like, I'm going to focus on getting the notes right, and then the timing will come after. But in group class, you can't exactly get away with that, but you're also still forced to listen to yourself. So it kind of adds like that layer of understanding that like you play individually, right? But even if you make a few mistakes in like these measures, when it comes together, it's still that one large sound from the ensemble. Online classes have forced me to think about those layers a little more.
I found the group classes just very motivating on a couple of levels. First of all, I like the social aspect, and I feel like I really got to know the other classmates a lot better in this strange interaction. Again, kind of getting beyond the I'm afraid to play in front of other people. Everybody's doing it, so we all just kind of take our own stab at it. I get a little more motivation knowing I have to play in front of other people besides just making up excuses for one teacher.
I think it's really intimidating to start the violin, and I started in my 30s, and it's the first time I ever picked up the instrument because I wanted to play it ever since I was a kid. And it's so intimidating, and you go through your head, you're like, this is ridiculous. I have these chunky, heavy fingers. Like, why would I ever think I could do this? And it can get discouraging. But when you see that there's other people, hey, there's all these other crazy people who also think they can do this, and you struggle together, and then you make a sound. Like my mom is like, oh my God, you're moving the stick perfect. She has no idea, but she loves everything that I do, even though I'm a little self-critical. So I think it keeps you motivated because nothing is magic. Everything is practice, and it's just be patient. And it's easier when you're doing that with a nice group of people who also are in the struggle. And it's just awesome.
I was just about to echo that same exact sentence. When I was looking, and this is just speaking just to group classes in general and not how it's so kind of worth it with the online, is that like I wanted to learn violin, but I'm too shy or embarrassed to like go do it, listen to my own sound only. So like having that kind of like, what is it, like mutual suffering in a way of like that
in a good way.
Class of yours, like we all don't know what we're doing, and that's okay. And like honestly with like this class, it definitely was, even though it was in person at the time, it was like the most comforting way of learning a new instrument for the first time. And like I can't imagine that being any different with like an online course at all.
I think, me personally, in my view of music, for both the listener and the player, it's a way to express yourself. And I think it's very cool in times like this to pick up something and learn something new like that, especially music. So, I mean, I wouldn't wait. Personally, I would just go for it.
No, I just wanted to say that this time, when you had asked like, why I'll wait for what, like we don't really know when these things are going to be over. And so from someone who teaches, you just transfer. And it's one of these things too. It's not just like a skill of playing violin, but it's it's one of these things. It's like you can wait, but you don't know how long you're going to be waiting.
The group classes in particular, they are fun. I enjoy them a lot. So having the class as part of my routine has helped me a lot to go through the quarantine. So actually, I think it's a great time to start the class. You just practice, you get better. It just works that way.
As an artist, you're always trying to find people to connect with. And now, because of the positive and beautiful things of the internet and all these things are what we're talking about, so it can, if you look at it like that and you use it to your advantage, you can really improve in things. And I don't feel like education is ever time wasted, whether it's through the computer or it's through, it's just different.
That's why I'm like so excited to get the word out, because I'm like, it's so easy to come together from wherever you are,
What I've seen in my students, like in terms of online learning, even though, I mostly focus on the private lessons, like it is kind of more empowering in an online atmosphere in a sense, because you're held a little bit more accountable for your own practice. Like you can't just like kind of play along in the lesson with your teacher and like have that soft padding of the teacher sounding good and how you sound, you know what I mean? Which is fine. Like, the teacher is the teacher and they're there to help you. But like as a student, your sound is a bit more exposed, and that's okay, because then you can actually improve it more and kind of confront that a little bit more as something to work on in your own practice. And it kind of puts the responsibility a little bit more in your hands of like, okay, what can I do to make my playing better?
As a group, you're more accountable when you're with other people. So when you're practicing, you're like, I don't want to be the person in the group who's not, at the same level as everyone else. And it's nice. It's not even in a competitive way. It just keeps you honest, making sure that you're doing your part, because as we're progressing during the semester, like you can see people are getting better, and you just don't want to be the one who's, you don't want to be the straggler, the one who's not, pulling the weight. So I enjoy that aspect of the group classes, because it really keeps you on track in that way. And, we share our challenges. You realize what you're struggling with is not unique to you. It's, the entire group is going through the same thing. At the end of the semester, where you started with and where you ended, you can definitely see that change or that development, which is the most important thing anyway, I think.
So what would you say to somebody who goes, is group class hard?
I'd say yes and no. Is anything worthwhile not hard? I don't know.
I think to answer that, I would say certainly challenging. I would be lying if I say it wasn't challenging, but that goes whether you're in a group class or one-on-one lesson, violin's challenging. And I think to overcome that, I think actually group lesson might be something that makes it maybe easier, because now you're listening to yourself and others play with you. So is it hard? I mean, violin in general is challenging, but group class might make it actually easier.
I think that's the end goal of music, right? Is to play it as a group, I think. Like ultimately,
me too. I think so too.
Like
that was going to be my other question. So I have some students that never plan on playing for anyone, so they say.
Whether you plan to perform or not, I just think the experience of playing with other people is an experience in itself. Whether you're going to perform in front of an audience or you're going to be your own audience, I think there's definitely a feeling you get from playing that music with other people that you're not going to get playing by yourself.
What were your hesitancies and uncertainties before you started learning violin that almost made you not do it?
I didn't want to fail. I'm an adult and I'm too old for this. Like, this is what children do. There's a little kid straight out of the womb who's way better than I am. Like, why would I do this, And am I just being ridiculous? And I think it was just mostly my self-doubt. Why do I think I can do this? It's the hardest instrument. But you absolutely can. It opens the whole world of music. I listen to movie scores and I appreciate
same here.
Like the work that went into that, how beautiful it sounds and how much I know they put in to make it sound like that. I love it and appreciate it. And the fact that I can even be in a little circle. Someone called me a musician when I was carrying my case and I was like, I'm not, no. You're silly. I'm an adult beginner. Don't think I'm anyone else. He's like, no, welcome. You're a musician. And it made me feel so good. And it's such a great community to be a part of. So just do it.
We as adults, what Felicia just said is very interesting. We as adult learners, or maybe we want to play the violin, we might be influenced by, maybe we like classical music, we might listen to violin music, and that's what we listen to, right? So when we pick it up, that's kind of what, at least how I felt, like, oh, I want to play this song, it sounds so nice and beautiful, I just want to start and pick it up and play it, and then you can't, obviously you're a beginner, so there's just some things that you have to overcome, so like Felicia said, like, oh, why would I want to do this? This is for kids, I'm going to be playing kids songs, like, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I told my mom too when I first started. I was like, you better expect to hear a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But you have to remember, eventually you move past that stage, and you don't last there forever when you pick it up. So that's how I felt as a motivator. You may be in that stage and you don't want to be, but you're going to progress from that if you keep going.
Hillary, did you have any fears when you were about to start violin again?
Oh, I was mortified. I'll retell the story for those who don't know. I played in my youth, and then I didn't play for 40 years. When I picked up my violin, I brought it to a luthier to get it readjusted and everything, and I was too embarrassed to even test it out in front of him, because when I found what Antoinette offered, I thought, well, let me do group because it just sounds more fun. I think there is a world of us in between not playing and playing professionally, and we do have so much available to us to enjoy and learn together. I mean, I feel just better having done it.
When I started, I was so afraid of the instrument. I hold a violin for the first time, in 2016, and I was like, I don't want to break it. What should I do? Or the first time I had to tune it, I broke the E string. And I went running to my teacher back in Buenos Aires, what should I do? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, this is the easiest string to break. Don't worry. But it took me a while to go over that.
You're scared of failing because you grow up with certain things. You go into your career, you become good at that or whatever, and then you think of how much has it taken you. Like, for example, Felicia, how much has it taken you to be a doctor? You look at all the work you've put in that, and you're like, how much of that can I put in the? So you try to do that equivalence thing, which I think is a wrong way to look at it. I think having done this now for about 5 years, I think the beauty is in the process. Where I think the goal is just saying, I want to just pursue something consistently and enjoy the process, the growth, the development. Because I think for me, that's the most rewarding thing of this whole, and past 5 years I've been doing this. But I think one of the things whenever I try to start something new, I'll always go through a phase of finding a million excuses not to do it. Whether it's, violin or working out or running a marathon or whatever, you find a million reasons not to do it. And then I hit that inflection in my mind where I'm like, I just need to find one reason and I'll do it. And I think that's just the key thing, is just find one reason and that's it. Forget about all the excuses. They'll always be there.
Well, for me, one thing that influenced me pick up violin, I always thought it was something very beautiful instrument to listen to. And when played correctly, it's beautiful. That's how I look at it and how I think about it. So I was like, I think I want to pick this up. I want to try it for myself and see what it's all about.
It's all about that decision, you go I'm ready. I'm going to do it. You want to enhance your life. Life isn't just about surviving. You want to make it more beautiful as well. Bring beauty to the world. I only have my mind and my imagination, but I'll never have what you have in your head. So it's really nice to hear what you have to say. So thank you.